Hi guys, it's April and it's actually been a while. I haven't done one of these tours in a couple of weeks. September has just been one of the craziest months, but I am here to show you the garden and everything that has changed. And I will say that I'm actually starting to slowly pull things out because things are definitely starting to peek out. Oh, and I garden down in southeast Nebraska, zone 6A, in case you are interested. I think the biggest change that you will notice right now is the fact that I have pulled out all of the ground cherries. There are definitely a lot of ground cherries still on the ground, but I decided it was time to just pull all of it out because we hadn't been eating a lot of it and it was starting to just flop over and not look good. So I did pull all of that out and a lot of the old dill. I kind of brushed a lot of the seeds. You can see some here. A lot of the seeds on the ground and just let it go. But I do need to go back and get some of that. I think my next project is to start cleaning out pots. Our last frost date is usually around October 12th. So I do technically have about 2 more weeks of the garden or so, but I have a feeling that all of this is probably going to be gone sooner than that. I'm going to guess that we're going to get hit by an early frost, but that's just my guess. You can see our one pumpkin that managed to grow. I'm using it as decoration over here. The reason why, let me show you, is this little stinkers of ants and roly-polies decided to start having a snack before I picked it. So it's just gonna stay back here instead of up front. My one pumpkin. But hey, at least we have festivities back here. I do need to come and go through my peppers in the next couple of weeks. Just kind of pull everything down. I am done with tomatoes. A lot of the plants kind of look like this, where they're half starting to die and the fruit is starting to ferment. So I'm done with tomatoes this year, but I can show you some of the other stuff that's still doing pretty well. Just not a lot of these pots. But before I do forget, I have started harvesting off of this plant right here. This is a sweet bonnet pepper plant, and I do have to say, these are actually pretty good. They're not too spicy, but they still kind of have a little bit of that flavor of a Scotch bonnet. So you get some of that flavor, but you don't get all of the heat. And so this is definitely something that I am going to grow again next year because I like this. And I think next year I'm going to put this in the actual garden and let it really grow out so I can have enough for a hot sauce, because this would make some of the best hot sauce. But as you can see, things are definitely starting to die back. I need to go through, make sure there's no chrysalis anywhere on any of these plants, and then pull them out because this isn't looking too good. But the grape plants are doing really well, and you can see all the way down there the kiwi plants are doing good as well. But what I brought you over here for is the carrots. This is another project that I have on my to-do list, is to go and find the carrots that haven't overgrown in this mess and then probably shred them down and freeze them. I think that's how I want to preserve them this year. I haven't had a lot of luck with canning carrots. I haven't found a method that I really like. But I think if I shred and freeze or cube and freeze, that might work for all of these. But yeah, as you can see, tomato plants are being eaten. I have a grasshopper problem like nobody's business. I haven't found any hornworms this year. Mostly just these little suckers. Grr. And I did leave what I wasn't sure was a weed or something I actually wanted, and it's looking like a sunflower, I think. Hasn't opened yet, none of them have, but it's looking sunflower-esque. So they're still here, but these plants here have got to go. I've gotten a few more tomatoes off of them, but I think they're done. I've gotten maybe 20 tomatoes from this bed. Wasn't a great year for this bed. But these beans, I should probably be going through and finding some of the baby beans and eating them. But I think I'm just gonna let them go and maybe use them as dried beans. I think that's what I'm gonna do with a lot of my beans, just because I lost track of them. So those are right there feeding the soil. And this is one tomato plant that has finally started coming to life. I'm definitely not gonna get any tomatoes from it, but it is maybe it's the second tomato plant that still looks healthy. And I think part of it is because I just cut everything back and gave it room. I started doing some of that over here. These plants had grown all the way into the walkway, and I'm starting to cut things back. The problem is, in my compost pile, I don't have enough room for whole tomato plants. So I'm just starting to trim as needed and getting rid of some of the stuff that is starting to attract bugs. Because yeah, this right here, I need to cut back some of this and get rid of some of this. The second problem is a lot of this is intertangled with all of the squash plants that have started to creep this way. So it's hard to pull a lot of this down because it's just so interwoven with the squash plant. I've started trying to do it with these plants over here, and I got several good handfuls of tomato plants cut down, but I couldn't pull them out because of how trapped they were because of the vines. And as you can even see, the trellis is being pulled over. So I might have to just wait for the frost to kill the squash vines and then come through and start cleaning up. I want to get some of it done a little earlier because otherwise that's a lot to just handle all at once. I do have some orange jalapenos that I need to come harvest. I always forget about this plant because it's back here. But yeah, I need to come and get those. These are some pretty good jalapenos. I quite enjoy them. But I'm also enjoying how this area ended up this year. Definitely did not start out the way I thought it would, but the way it is looking now, I'm quite enjoying. I'll have to try something similar next year, getting some of the smaller zinnias from the greenhouses around here and then starting my own taller zinnias. I don't know if I want to do this variety again. I can't say that I enjoy them. I'm hoping Florette releases some of her zinnias this year. I think I want to get some zinnias from her, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. But otherwise, yeah, tomatoes are mostly overgrown and dying back. I'm trimming those. The squash is just taking over. I'm trying to harvest those as I find them, but I have missed a few here and there, and you can see how the old stuff is actually starting to die back, and my onions that got buried are actually starting to grow again. You can still use the outside of those, but you'll have to cut out the middle of those. That bed over there, most of it is pretty done. The basil's gone to seed. Tomato plants are dead, but it's all buried in those vines. So I haven't cleaned it out yet. I'm gonna have a big cleanup project this coming fall. And then we have the pepper plants, which is kind of what is keeping the garden going right now. It's these pepper plants. These are the spicy ones. I'm still waiting for some of my ahi. Haven't gotten any of those yet. And then these bunching onions. You saw some with the carrots, but I used to have the potatoes here that I've harvested. And then these kind of just bushed out. And I want to save them all, but how do you preserve bunching onions? I guess I could cut them all and freeze them. I don't know if I'm gonna like them that way. I usually like to pickle my bunching onions. But if I were to can that, they'd get too soft. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with all of these, but I definitely know I'm gonna grow them again next year. And then you have the sweet pepper bed. And I am loving how these marigolds have just taken over this side. I need to find a way to do that again. I think I need to learn not to cram so much together. And that's why this got so big. But these peppers, I'm living for peppers right now. I'm quite enjoying them so many different ways. Plus I just love looking at these fruitful growing plants. And then last but not least, I have the area by the deck. These are the other tomato plants that are still doing okay. It's mostly the Cosmic Burst. The Alice's Dream, I think it just got smothered out by the Cosmic, but I do really like the Cosmic tomato plant. It's from Wild Boar, I believe. This is the first year I've done it, but I've gotten so many fruit off of it where all my other plants have just not been doing well. And then along with my carrots, I need to come through and get the rest of these beets. Those I probably will can. Spaghetti squash has trellised itself up onto the deck. There are a few fruit hanging off the trellis here and there, and it looks like I've got some ripe ones that I need to come through and harvest. Every once in a while, I notice some beans hanging down, like you can see one right there. And then you got a couple right there. I think those are finally my runner beans showing up, and so I'm gonna see how those fill out. We have this tomato plant. It's one of the dwarfs. I think it's a Fred of some kind. I haven't seen any fruit off of that one yet, but it's been growing, I guess. And then the cabbage is being eaten, and that's okay. I had no plans for that in the first place. But we do have this poblano pepper plant. It has grown so tall and so green, but I haven't seen any peppers on it yet. And I'm not sure why that is. And then behind it, you can see the spinach, which I've been harvesting off like crazy. And it keeps going. We've had a couple spinach salads. I'm enjoying that. And there's some more spinach in there, along with a lot of spaghetti squash that I need to come through and harvest. And then there's some beans that I think I'm just gonna let dry on the plants. And last week, I did come through and harvest all of the peaches off of both plants. And I got about 13 peaches. And these aren't necessarily like the sweet, fresh eating peaches. They do taste okay fresh, but these are peaches that are mostly for canning and pies. So I am doing some of that right now. But yeah, that is the garden, nearing the end of September. And unfortunately, before we know it, it is going to be, it's going to be October. So there she is. That is probably going to be my last tour of the garden in September. my next garden tour is probably going to be the first tour of October. I am hoping to have things a little bit more tidy by then, but no promises. And before I know it, there's gonna be nothing out here. It feels like the season has gone super fast. But if you would like to watch me close out the garden, or if you're interested in what I will be growing next season, feel free to subscribe down below. Hit the bell to do all the things to get all of the notifications. And I do have an Instagram and Threads account in case you want to follow me over there as well. I try to keep up to date with what I'm harvesting and what I'm preserving, mostly through photographs and things like that. But feel free to follow me over there. Otherwise, I do hope I will see you guys again in another video, and I heart you beautiful faces. Bye.